All right, so today we cover six current affairs, sharp, relevant, and exam ready. Let's go. Iran launched over 300 ballistic missiles and drones targeting Israeli military bases and population centers in retaliation for the strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities. Israel responded with airstrikes on Tehran for the first time, targeting government buildings and Revolutionary Guard headquarters. Now, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthis in Yemen have joined the conflict, launching attacks on Israel. The Strait of Hormuz is now a war zone with naval confrontations between US and Iranian forces. Now, this is in Iran's largest military operation since the 1980s war with Iraq, and striking Iran's capital crosses a major red line. For decades, Iran-Israel conflict remained proxy warfare through Hezbollah, Hamas, and regional militias. Saudi Arabia recalled diplomats from Israel, ending the normalization process begun under the Abraham Accords. Egypt closed Suez Canal to military vessels, fearing widening conflict. Now, the West Asia War, which is the armed conflict between Iran-led Axis and Israel-US alliance. Iran-Israel conflict, which is direct military confrontation between long-time adversaries. Missile strikes, which is ballistic and cruise missile strikes on the military and civilian targets. Then we have the regional escalation, widening of the conflict involving multiple countries and proxy groups. Involvement, Lebanese militia backed by Iran launching attacks on Israel, and the Strait of Hormuz, which is critical maritime choke point, now site of naval warfare. So the next important news is the West Asia war hits Indian economy. So the crude oil prices surged past $140 per barrel as markets fear prolonged supply disruption from Gulf region, producing 30% of the global oil. India stock markets crashed 8% in a single day, rupee weakened to 86 per dollar, and retail inflation jumped to 1.5% in 1 month. Every $10 increase in the crude adds to 80,000 crores to India's annual oil import bill. Current price increases from $85 to $140 means additional 4.4 lakh crores burden on the government. Retail inflation, which was controlled at 4.5%, will cross 7% within months due to the fuel price increases. This affects everything: LPG cylinders, transport fares, power tariffs, all goods transported by road. RBI will likely raise interest rates to control inflation, making loans expensive for businesses and consumers, slowing economic growth. Then the India receives $50 billion annually in remittances from 9 million Indians working in Gulf countries. War threatens these livelihoods as Gulf economies contract and some companies evacuate non-essential staff. Remittances support 7 million families in Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. Oil price shock, which is sudden increase in petroleum cost affecting entire economy. Then consequences of geopolitical events on growth, inflation, and employment. Then the current account deficit, which is shortfall when import payments exceed export earnings. Inflation pressure, rising prices reducing purchasing power of consumers. Health remittances, money sent home by Indian workers in Middle East countries, and energy security is the ensuring reliable, affordable energy supply despite disruptions. Then the next news is Pakistan Afghanistan during line crisis. So Pakistan and Taliban governed Afghanistan have completely closed their shared border after escalating military confrontations. Pakistan's airstrikes on alleged TTP hideouts in Afghan territory and Taliban's demolition of Pakistan border post have led to continuous fighting. Both sides have deployed heavy weapons, including artillery and tanks, along the Durand line. Over 100,000 civilians are trapped in the border region, unable to cross either direction. Now, the 2640-kilometer Durand line was drawn in 1893 by the British India dividing Pashtun populations. Afghanistan never accepted it as permanent border, claiming Pashtun areas inside Pakistan. Now the border has become an active war zone with Pakistan building physical barriers and Taliban destroying them. Then the conflict creates refugee flows towards Iran and Pakistan's Balochistan province. Some refugee attempt entering India through porous sections of India-Pakistan border in Punjab and Rajasthan. Pakistan's two-front problem: hostile Afghanistan in west and tense India in east creates strategic opportunities for India. Pakistan's military resources are dividing between western and eastern borders, reducing pressure on the line of control with India. Durand line is 1893 border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, disputed by Afghanistan. Then the shared boundary, now militarized zone conflict, is the Afpak border. Taliban conflict is the confrontation between Pakistani military and the Afghan Taliban government. Pashtun question is the ethnic Pashtun population divided by border seeking reunification. Refugee crisis is the mass displacement of civilians fleeing conflict zones, and regional security is the stability of the South Central Asia affected by the border conflicts. Then we have the India Canada relations reset. Uh, India and Canada announced restoration of diplomatic relations and resumption of suspended agreements after 6 months of freeze. Both countries withdrew earlier allegations, expelled diplomats are being replaced, and visa services restarted. Canadian PM admitted intelligence claims were not supported by evidence, while India agreed to investigate diaspora concerns. Trade negotiations for FTA resumed immediately with targets for completion within 12 months. Now, the September 2025 crisis, where the Canada alleged Indian government involvement in activities on Canadian soil, had frozen all bilateral engagement. High commissions, high commissioners was expelled, intelligence sharing stopped, and bilateral forums cancelled. Now, India-Canada bilateral trade worth $10 billion annually was growing before the crisis. Canadian pension funds manage $3 trillion seeking Indian market access. Canadian technology companies want India's IT talent. Indian pharmaceutical companies seek Canadian market. The compromise involves Canada acknowledging some diaspora activities cross lines into the extremism while maintaining free speech protections. India accepts that peaceful advocacy is not terrorism, even if India disagrees with the cause. Now, the keywords India Canada relations again, bilateral ties restored after Khalistan related diplomatic crisis, diplomatic reset, resumption of normal relations after conflict freeze and Khalistan issue, dispute over six separatist activities in Canadian diaspora, trade resumption, restarting suspended economic negotiations and business ties, diaspora politics, political activities of immigrants affecting homeland relations, and bilateral reconciliation, process of resolving differences and restoring cooperation. AI hallucination derails court judgment. Now, a High Court judgment was challenged when opposing counsel discovered that cases citations in the ruling were fabricated. The AI legal research tool used by the judge's law clerk generated fake Supreme Court judgments that don't exist. The tool exhibited AI hallucination, confidently presenting fictional information as fact. The court withdrew the judgment and ordered investigation into reliance on AI tools without human verification. Now, the law clerk used ChatGPT style legal AI asking for precedents supporting a specific legal position. The AI created convincing looking case citations with plausible names, citations like 2023 SCC 145, and detailed summaries that seemed authentic. Neither the law clerk nor the judge verified these citations independently. When challenged, investigation revealed none of the cited cases exist. So the courts derive authority from decisions based on law and precedent. If judgments rest on fake citations, the entire decision becomes invalid. This case raises questions. How many other judgments used AI generated fake precedents? Are all AI assisted legal research tools unreliable? So, this is not limited to legal AI. The incident highlights that current AI systems don't know anything. They predict text patterns based on training data. When training data lacks specific information, AI invents plausible sounding text rather than admitting ignorance. This makes AI dangerous for fields requiring factual accuracy, like law, medicine, journalism, research. The solution is not banning AI, but requiring human verification of AI outputs, especially in high stakes domain where fabricated information causes serious harm. AI hallucination, artificial intelligence generating false information presented confidently as a fact. Judicial process, court procedures for deciding cases based on law and evidence. Technology reliability, dependability of technological tools for critical decision making. Fake citations, non-existent legal precedents fabricated by AI systems, legal AI tools, software using artificial intelligence for legal research and drafting, and court credibility, which is public trust in judicial decisions and processes. Then the HC on homemaker maintenance valuation. Now, the Delhi High Court ruled that maintenance calculation must include monetary value of homemakers' unpaid domestic work, childcare, cooking, cleaning, elderly care. Using NSSO data on replacement costs, the court valued typical homemaker work at 30,000 to 50,000 monthly. Now, this must be considered when calculating maintenance after divorce. Increasing amounts are payable to non working spouses significantly compared to previous practice. Now, previously, courts calculated maintenance based only on the husband's income and wife's financial needs, ignoring wife's contribution through domestic work. If wife did not earn salary, her contribution was valued at zero. This judgment recognizes that homemaking is economic labor with market value. Hiring cook, cleaner, nanny, elderly caregiver costs significant money. When wife does this work, she enables husband to pursue career without domestic responsibilities. Under old approach, non-earning wife might receive 15,000 to 20,000 monthly maintenance. New approach adds 30,000 to 50,000 value of a domestic work contribution, potentially doubling or tripling maintenance amounts. Now, this reflects true economic partnership in marriage, where one spouse earns money, other manages household, enabling that earning. Now, this ruling addresses fundamental unfairness where women's unpaid labor is invisible in economic calculations. Feminist economists have long argued that GDP ignores the unpaid domestic work, mostly performed by women, that enables the paid economy to function. While this judgment does not change GDP calculations, it legally recognizes unpaid work's value in family law. Homemaker valuation is assigning monetary value to unpaid domestic work performed by homemakers. Maintenance rights, financial support awarded to spouse after separation or divorce. Unpaid work, domestic labor including childcare, cooking, cleaning without salary, etc. Gender justice, equal treatment and recognition of women's contributions in law. Domestic labor, household work and caregiving activities sustaining family life. And economic contribution, recognizing homemaking as valuable labor enabling household functioning. That's it for today's session. Stay consistent, stay sharp. See you tomorrow. Thank you.